The room fell silent the moment the old steel box refused to open. Some of the world's most expensive security experts had spent hours trying to unlock it. Engineers examined it. Locksmiths replaced tools again and again. Computer specialists checked hidden mechanisms. Every failed attempt made the air heavier, and every passing minute made the powerful Mafia boss more dangerous. His men stood frozen, knowing that failure could cost someone their life. Then, from the corner of the room, a poor maid carrying a bucket of water quietly looked at the strange box. She hesitated for only a heartbeat before softly asking if she could take a closer look. Nobody expected the next 60 seconds to change every life inside that mansion forever. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness, humility, and second chances can change even the hardest hearts, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who loves emotional stories, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another inspiring journey. Maria had spent most of her life being invisible. She cleaned floors before sunrise, polished expensive furniture that she could never dream of owning, and quietly disappeared before important guests arrived. She lived in a tiny apartment on the edge of the city with her elderly grandmother, whose failing health demanded expensive medicine that Maria struggled to afford. Every morning she promised herself that no matter how difficult life became, she would never allow bitterness to replace kindness. Her mother had taught her that dignity was something nobody could steal unless you willingly gave it away, and those words became the foundation of her entire life after both her parents died in a factory accident when she was still a teenager. The mansion where Maria worked belonged to Victor Romano, a man whose name filled newspapers with mystery and fear. Officially he was a wealthy businessman. Unofficially everyone whispered that he controlled one of the most powerful criminal organizations in the country. His estate looked more like a royal palace than a home, surrounded by towering gates, endless gardens, and security guards who watched every shadow. Despite his reputation, Maria never judged him. She believed every human being carried wounds that others could not see. She simply focused on her work, keeping her head down and treating every person with quiet respect. On that rainy afternoon, unusual panic spread across the mansion. Luxury cars arrived one after another. Men in expensive suits hurried through the hallways carrying laptops, strange devices, and heavy toolboxes. The staff was ordered to stay out of sight, but curiosity made Maria notice frightened expressions even on the faces of Victor's closest bodyguards. Something was terribly wrong. Hidden inside Victor's private office was an antique steel box that had belonged to his late father. It was not an ordinary safe. According to family legend, it contained documents capable of exposing enemies who had betrayed generations of the Romano family. Those papers had suddenly become critically important because rival organizations were preparing to destroy everything Victor had built. Without the information inside, innocent people working for him, including drivers, cooks, cleaners, and office employees, could become targets in a dangerous war. Unfortunately, the locking system had jammed after years without being opened. Every expert called to solve the problem had failed. The more they struggled, the closer the mechanism moved toward permanently sealing itself forever. Maria entered the office quietly with her cleaning supplies, believing everyone had already left. Instead she found the room filled with tense faces. One of the security guards angrily ordered her to leave immediately, but Victor silently raised his hand, allowing her to finish wiping a small spill near the fireplace. She kept her eyes lowered until something caught her attention. The steel box rested on an old wooden table. It reminded her of something she had seen long ago inside her grandfather's workshop. As a child she had spent countless afternoons watching him repair ancient clocks, locks, and farming equipment. He always said that old machines spoke through patterns, not force. Whenever something refused to move, the answer usually wasn't more strength but better understanding. Maria carefully observed tiny scratches around one corner of the box. They looked different from the fresh marks left by the expensive tools scattered across the room. She also noticed a faint symbol nearly invisible beneath years of dust. Her heartbeat quickened. It wasn't random decoration. It looked exactly like a balancing mark her grandfather once explained was used by craftsmen who built precision mechanisms decades earlier. Gathering every ounce of courage she possessed, Maria quietly asked if she could examine the box for 1 minute before anyone damaged it further. Several men laughed openly. One expert rolled his eyes, unable to believe a maid dared interrupt professionals. Yet Victor, exhausted by endless failure, simply nodded. Maria gently brushed away the remaining dust instead of grabbing any tools. She placed 2 fingers on the cold steel, closed her eyes for a brief moment, and remembered her grandfather's patient lessons. She slowly tilted the box by a tiny angle, pressed lightly beside the faded symbol, then rotated the decorative handle backward instead of forward. A soft metallic click echoed through the office. The lid opened. Nobody moved. For several endless seconds, the room became completely silent except for the sound of rain tapping against the enormous windows. The expert stared in disbelief. Security guards looked at one another as though reality itself had changed. Victor remained frozen, unable to process what had happened. Inside the box rested carefully preserved documents, faded photographs, handwritten journals, and a single sealed envelope bearing Victor's father's signature. Victor ignored everything else and immediately opened the letter. As he silently read its contents, something extraordinary happened. The feared man's expression transformed from hard determination into deep sorrow. Tears slowly filled his eyes. Hidden among instructions protecting the family's future was a deeply personal message from his father, reminding him that true strength would never come from fear but from compassion. The letter warned that power gained without humanity eventually destroys itself from within. For the first time in many years, Victor realized how far he had drifted from the values his father once tried to teach him. He looked toward Maria with genuine gratitude rather than authority. Instead of seeing a servant, he saw the person who had preserved both his family's legacy and perhaps his own soul. News of the unbelievable incident quietly spread among the mansion staff. Everyone admired Maria, but she remained exactly the same. The next morning she returned to cleaning windows and sweeping floors as though nothing remarkable had happened. She expected no reward because helping others had never depended on recognition. Victor could not forget her humility. Curious about the woman who had solved what wealthy experts could not, he discreetly asked trusted employees about Maria's life. What he discovered deeply disturbed him. She often skipped meals to buy medicine for her grandmother. She secretly donated part of her already tiny salary to a neighborhood shelter. She repaired worn-out clothes instead of replacing them and regularly helped elderly neighbors carry groceries home without accepting payment. The poorest person in his mansion possessed the richest heart. Victor began questioning countless decisions that had shaped his own life. He had accumulated wealth beyond imagination, yet genuine happiness always seemed farther away. Maria owned almost nothing, yet everyone around her spoke about her kindness with admiration. Weeks later another crisis struck. One of Victor's financial advisors secretly betrayed him, stealing millions before disappearing overseas. Panic returned to the organization. Angry advisors demanded revenge, insisting violence would restore respect. Victor remembered his father's letter and Maria's quiet example. Instead of choosing revenge, he cooperated with authorities to recover stolen assets legally while restructuring his businesses to operate more transparently. Several longtime employees feared they would lose their jobs during the changes, but Victor surprised everyone by protecting ordinary workers first. He reduced luxury spending, sold unnecessary properties, and redirected money toward employee healthcare, education programs, and community projects. Many people doubted such dramatic change could last. Maria never praised him publicly or treated him differently. She simply continued encouraging everyone through small acts of kindness. Her consistency slowly convinced others that transformation was possible one decision at a time. Months passed. The mansion gradually lost its atmosphere of fear. Guards smiled more often. Kitchen staff laughed together during breaks. Maintenance workers received proper safety equipment for the first time. Scholarships were established for employees' children. Maria's grandmother finally received excellent medical treatment arranged anonymously by someone she never discovered was Victor. One evening Victor visited the workshop where Maria's grandfather had once repaired old machines. Though abandoned for years, the tiny building still smelled faintly of wood and metal. Maria showed him faded notebooks filled with hand-drawn sketches explaining antique mechanisms. Those simple pages had taught her patience, observation, and respect for craftsmanship. Victor realized that wisdom often grows quietly in ordinary places while pride shouts loudly in luxurious rooms. Years later, journalists frequently asked Victor what inspired his remarkable transformation from feared businessman into respected philanthropist. He never mentioned criminal empires or hidden documents. Instead, he simply answered that one humble woman reminded him that intelligence without humility is incomplete and that the greatest lessons sometimes come from those society overlooks. Maria never became famous. She refused interviews, awards, and television appearances. She believed the true reward for doing good was watching another person's life become lighter. Eventually she managed a charitable foundation supporting education for children from struggling families, ensuring that poverty would never silence bright minds simply because they lacked opportunity. People often remembered the dramatic story as the day a poor maid solved an impossible puzzle in 1 minute. But those who truly understood what happened realized the real miracle was never opening an old steel box. The real miracle was opening a closed human heart. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like this video, share it with your friends and family, subscribe to the channel, and let us know your thoughts because your support helps these meaningful stories reach people who may need hope today. Special request, please comment below with the words, "Kindness sees what pride misses," if you believe that no person's worth should ever be judged by their job, clothes, or wealth. As the sun set behind the mansion one peaceful evening, Maria quietly finished watering the garden before walking home beneath a sky painted with golden light. She carried no fortune in her hands, no medals on her chest, and no headlines celebrating her name. Yet she possessed something far more valuable. She had proven that wisdom does not belong only to experts, compassion does not belong only to saints, and greatness is often hidden beneath the simplest uniforms. One humble minute of courage had changed the destiny of an entire household, reminding everyone that the strongest force in the world is not fear or power, but a humble heart willing to help when everyone else has already given up. And that is why the greatest heroes are so often the ones nobody notices, until the moment the world needs them most.